Are you in favor of the team's new look? And how do you feel about the Petty name disappearing for the first time since NASCAR sort of became a thing?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I like the name. Legacy. I think if anybody has the right to use a name like Legacy, it's guys like Richard Petty and Jimmie Johnson, a couple of seven-time champions of NASCAR. And Motor Club is an interesting part of a name as well. Usually most teams end with either racing or motorsports, and Petty Enterprises actually is one that was a little bit different from that. If you want to go back to the days of that team, hello there to Josh as well. But it is going to be weird to not have the Petty name in the team and on the grid next year. Of course, Richard will still be at the track from time to time, and he'll still obviously have an ownership stake in the team and a presence with the team. But it's been kind of the end of an era for a while now. Everybody talks about Richard Petty Motorsports and the merger with Evernham. When a lot of teams were merging, Earnhardt and Ganassi is another one that comes to mind. In the 2008-2009 time during the recession, I think really, if you want to trace the team history back, Petty Enterprises really closed its doors at the end of 2008. What we now know as Richard Petty Motorsports is really more accurately traced back to the Evernham program that was that came in with Ray Evernham back when Dodge was coming back into the sports. So it's not like the team's never been through a transition like this before. Obviously, having Jimmie Johnson on board, as we've known for a long time now, it's going to bring another boost to the team. I think I saw somewhere Richard himself was saying that he considered RPM to be a C team. What Petty GMS was able to do last year, they were kind of a B team, and he thinks Jimmie could take this new Legacy Motor Club team to really be an A team in the Cup Series and compete for wins and championships for years to come. So, it's going to take some getting used to, but I have to say, there were some people that didn't like the name, but I think, once you get used to it, I like it, and I think some fans might warm up to it as well.
I totally agree, Ben. I like the new look of Legacy Motor Club. It's going to be interesting to see, all of the sponsors they're going to have for 2023, and just the overall look of seeing them at the track in those cars on the track. And you're right. If anybody has the right to use the word legacy, it's a pair of 2 7-time champions, Richard Petty and Jimmie Johnson. This is going to be a new chapter in Jimmie's career as a team owner. Really excited to see what he can do in regards to the Petty name. It's certainly going to take some time getting used to. That's one of the names that I've always been around on. From Petty Enterprises, Richard Petty Motorsports, to Petty GMS, and now to Legacy Motor Club. Richard Petty's brand I think, is going to be in really, really good hands moving forward, and we'll see how Jimmie Johnson is able to do with all of this.
Will it be strange to see Johnson driving another car besides the number 48, or as he has been in IndyCar, where he's sort of been spinning and going backwards, will we notice a difference?
I said, well, I think Jimmie's going to be in a more comfortable environment. But as we saw with the drivers coming to grips to these next-gen cars in 2022, a lot of them were crashing and spinning at the start. So Jimmie's going to have to get a handle on this new car and how it drives. But I think he's going to have a much easier transition than he did with the Indy car. But overall, it's certainly going to be weird to see Jimmie Johnson in a NASCAR Cup Series race in a stock car without the number 48. I'm sure it's going to be weird for him, being side by side and passing the number 48 at some point in his partial schedule. But it's certainly not. It's certainly not strange to. I mean, just it's not really strange to see a top legend of the sport going to a new car. I remember when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was out with a concussion, we saw Jeff Gordon drive the number 88 car, and that was a strange sight for me to see, because everybody was so used to Jeff Gordon in number 24, and to see him in the 88, that was certainly quite a difference. And for when Tony Stewart was at Joe Gibbs Racing, he was in the number 20, and a lot of people got used to seeing Tony Stewart in the number 20, and then he ended up driving the number 14 car. And Kyle Busch, so many years in the number 18. Now he's going to be in the number 8. So it's certainly not unprecedented to see drivers, with super impressive resumes end up driving another number later on in their career.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Jeff Gordon, Kobe, because I remember when he was going to start subbing for Dale Jr., he said his biggest concern was when he was coming down pit road, he was going to see Chase Elliott's number 24 pit sign and stop in the wrong pit stall. So we'll see if Jimmie makes a mistake like that during practice or testing or something like that. As he's just getting used to it. But I like the number 84. Amber says, interesting. Carvana has Petty Blue on the logo throwback scheme coming. Well, between Jimmie and, Richard Petty himself, I'm sure there are a whole host of throwback options. So we'll wait and see what Jimmie might come up with there. The 84, though, I like the number choice. I have to say, I'm surprised I didn't think of it. I think a lot of people were thinking, 44 or something like that. But reminds me of when Michael Waltrip ran the Daytona 500 in 2010. He took the 15 and switched it around and made it the 51 car. So that's kind of a throwback to something that I've remembered before as well. So yeah, I like it. I think a lot of people are saying, Rick Hendricks being selfish, he should sell the number back to Jimmie. It's not how it works in NASCAR. The 3 is back now with Austin Dillon. They didn't retire that number permanently when Dale Sr. passed away. The 43 has been, in NASCAR even after Richard Petty retired, and the 24 has been used by Chase Elliott and William Byron. So it doesn't matter how illustrious of a career you have, how legendary your career is. The teams still own the numbers, and for the most part, continue to use them. So I know Jimmie's been very fortunate to be able to run the 48 in IMSA and in IndyCar, and I think even when he ran the Boston Marathon, they gave him a 4848 bib number. So he's really built an identity with that number, but unfortunately, now coming back to the Cup Series with a new team, it's not too surprising that he's having to choose a different number here. But I think the 84 works very well, and it's going to look good on him.